you go through your to-do list, so like, here's my to-do list today, right? And I'm like, I need to do this. Who could do that for me instead of me doing it? Who could do it? And if I can find any name, it drops into priority D and I give it to that person. And it's surprising how many things you can delegate that were just on your personal do-it list. They don't need to be on your list. They can be on an assistant's list, an employee's list, an outsourced person's list. There's 1,000 other ways to get more done, and it has everything to do with your priority D column.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Shaqir Hussyin Show. And today I have Mr. John Parks, the CMO of ClickFunnels. And I'm so excited because I recently just interviewed Dave Woodward, who's the CRO, the Chief Revenue Officer of this monster beast of a company called ClickFunnels. They did over $130 million last year. I've interviewed Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels. And today, really, I got the main guy. The main guy is the CMO, right? Especially for us marketers, the main guy is the brains, I would say, of a company's growth. Really, gets shaped by the person in marketing and sales. And so I'm super excited. I've been wanting to do this podcast interview for a while. John, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, when I do these podcasts, I tell them very upfront to all my listeners, 50% of it is very selfishly, blatantly for me. And the other 50% is just so that people can have an ear on the wall, so to speak, and just listen and learn in. So I'm going to get cracking on. But before I do, why don't you share a little bit about your story, how you came in, because it's kind of funny, and why you've stayed, and how you've grown within the company, and we'll just kind of take the conversation from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to jump in. Okay, so there I was. I mean, I'll start way back. Okay, so I was a kid, 14 years old. My dad's driving around town. I'm in the back of his car, and he's always listening to these like entrepreneurial self-help. And in those days, it was tapes, right? Tapes he would stick into the car and listen to them. And I was always interested in this whole wealth creation and entrepreneurship and starting a business, and it just appealed to me. And so I was there at 14 years old reading real estate investing books and started doing that in college, and got married to my lovely wife, Vanessa. And she said, hey, let's go to a family reunion, right? A few months into our marriage. And I said, yeah, let's go to your family reunion. I like to meet some people. As we were driving up, she's like, I know I've got a cousin who's really entrepreneurial. You guys might get along. And I said, oh, yeah, well, what's his name? His name's Russell. I was, okay, so we go up to the family reunion and we're enjoying time on the lake. And I'm on the boat with this Russell fellow, and we start talking business. And to this day, he'll still claim that I was pitching him on a network marketing company. I wasn't pitching him. I was just telling him about it. Anyway, it's funny. He thought I was recruiting him. Anyway, so he's like, hey, I like you. We should work together. You should come up to Idaho and work with me. And I was like, okay, I've never thought I'd live in Idaho, but sure, let's try it. So I'm like, give me a couple months. I'm just finishing college and then I'll come on up. So finished college, closed up my real estate deals down in Utah, and moved up to Idaho to work with Russell. That was back in 2008. So that was, what was that, 6 years or so before ClickFunnels even began. So Russell and I, we worked together, and there's still two other employees sent from that time, but other than that, we're the oldest ones in the company. So yeah, Russell and I, we've been doing this thing for a long time. For a while I was over all of just the paid traffic, the media buying and stuff like that. But since I've kind of taken on an entire marketing department as a whole, and just been running a mile a minute. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's just get straight in terms of running a company that was, when you started off, it was probably very messy. Let's just say he was doing a few $1 million a year. I don't know. Was he doing a few $1 million a year?
Yeah, that's about what it was. It was like 4 to 5 million a year. And we were kind of plateaued and stuck there for quite a few years.
And then transitioning from just a few $1 million to, tens of millions of dollars to over 100 million now. Who had you have to become within that role, right?
That's a Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Yeah, and I tell my wife this, I say the day that I am not challenged or learning something new in the ClickFunnels world is the day I move on and go do something else, because it's always been that way. And that's what I thrive in, is this change and this challenge and this growth phase. And I've so much growth. At first it was just me managing some projects, and then it was me driving traffic and doing Facebook ads, and then figuring out that kind of thing. And then it was like, I got to hire somebody. So I brought one person on, and I need to hire another person. And so I brought someone else on, and then someone else and someone else. And now I'm managing a department of 50 people. Um, I'm managing managers who manage an department of 50 people. And I've had to change so much. Like, instead of being and having to learn things like, well, okay, you're the person who does something, to you're the person who manages somebody who does something, to you're the person who strategizes to help the managers manage the people who do things. All of that is a completely different skill set. And it's been a significant period of growth over the last, 10, 12 years for me that um, I kind of didn't expect. I thought I was just going to go get a job and be entrepreneurial and earn some money and whatever. But like, this personal growth that's come from being a part of a company that's growing so big and so fast it's been welcome and a surprise to me.
Let me ask you this, in terms of um, your own personality traits, so to speak, right? Like, what would you say have been key personality traits, routines, habits that you've had to develop?
Yes. Okay, so definitely one is learning how to prioritize and delegate, because at a position like a CMO, there's never an opportunity to get through your checklist. You can never just say, okay, today I'll do these 5, 10, 15 things and actually get them all done. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. There's no way to actually clean out your to-do list. And I'm sure other people feel the same way in their lives. And so learning how to prioritize, and even more than that, how to delegate and how to eliminate, has been massively important. In fact, I kind of developed this system looking at Brian Tracy and um, I don't know, having read a ton of different books. I can't even remember them all. I know in the moment when I was trying to develop this, there was a lot of Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and stuff like that. And even David Allen, Getting Things Done, his book. So I read just a ton of books to try to figure things out, and came up with this method. Do you want me to teach the method?
Course.
Okay, cool. So here's the method. Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
go.
he's read it. Okay, that's right. This is 50% for you, right? Okay. So this is the method. A, B, C, D, E. It's just a letter system. A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So A is the things that absolutely have to be done today. And this is in my task management software. I have 5 columns, and they're labeled priority A. It has to get done today. If it doesn't get done today, there's significant consequences. Must be done today. This is a priority A. Priority B is, it would be nice to get done today. It'd be great if it got done today. There's goodness that would come out of getting this done today, but it's not vital. Like, if it didn't get done today, it could be done tomorrow, right? Then there's priority C, which is like, doesn't matter if it gets done today or not. Like, there's nothing urgent about it. It's something that's like, paint my wall. Okay, yeah, I should paint my wall, but there's nothing about it that's going to be positive or negative whether I do it. So that's priority C. Priority D is actually really interesting, because this is the one that you have to grow into. This is the way you figure out what's in your priority D column is you look through all of your tasks with this in mind. You have to ask yourself, who can do this task for me? D stands for delegate. And I know that sounds like a subtle thing, but it's huge. If you go through your to-do list, so like, here's my to-do list today, right? And I'm like, I need to do this. Who could do that for me instead of me doing it? Who could do it? And if I can find any name, it drops into priority D and I give it to that person. Who can do this for me? Who can do this? And it's surprising how many things you can delegate that were just on your personal do it list. They don't need to be on your list. They can be on an assistant's list, an employee's list, an outsourced person's list. There's 1,000 other ways to get more done, and it has everything to do with your priority D column. But if you're not asking yourself, after you've kind of sorted out like what you want to get done this week or whatever, who can do that? If you're not asking the who question, then you never think about it. and you just do it because, well, you know how to do it and you know you can do it good and da da da, da, right? And you don't ever think, you never have to put yourself through the task, through the process of asking who, the exercise of doing that. And then there's a priority E. Now, priority E is one where you go through your tasks and you actually intentionally eliminate things. It's interesting how we, depending on your personality type, how we give ourselves a bunch of tasks and we think that they're important to do, but actually they're not. There's certain ones that you could actually just cross off and no one would be the wiser and there'd be no negative consequence to it. So what are the things you can cross off? What are the things you can delegate? The things that don't fall into either of those, go ABC. That's how you get it done.
What do you use for project management and why?
I use ClickUp, clickup.com. Not, it's good. It's good at what it does, but not because it's the best personal project management, because it's the best large company team management platform that we found.
What do you like personally, or what have you used in the past personally?
Me personally, I like a pen and paper. I think writing it down and crossing it off is a big deal. And I find increased productivity by doing so. There's a I think Brian Tracy said it, a neurological motor stimulation that happens when you write with your hand instead of typing on your phone or typing on the keyboard. There's an actual difference that happens between your hand and your brain, and it's a different process. It's a physiological responses that are different. And so writing it down, writing ABCD across them, prioritizing them and crossing them out on a piece of paper is the best thing for me. And there's this creative trick that I found. If I keep a piece of any kind of like throwaway paper, I found that this is more effective than like a keep it kind of book. Something that feels like scrap paper to me. That's why I have this legal pad here. I can doodle and write and throw ideas and whatever down on it and not care because that's not a permanent thing. I'm going to throw it away tomorrow anyway. And there's a creative flow that comes with that, with me being able to just write with freedom and no consequence that allows me to continue working. So right here, I'm left-handed. On my left side, I've got my pen and my paper. Then I got my computer right here. And sometimes I put my phone over here and I'll even put it face down so I'm not looking at it. So it's away because that's where all the annoying notifications come from that distract me, right? And so then I'm super productive right here, creative right here, and it's a really good flow for me.
I like that. John, could you walk me through a marketing campaign, how you would think through a marketing campaign? Pick one that's done over 8 figures, please.
Okay. So let's pick one. So let's do Russell Brunson's webinar. There's been a variety of versions of it, but the funnel hacks webinar right now it's found at funnelhackingsecrets.com. It's the latest version of it, and it's done well over 8 figures. The first part of the marketing campaign is discovering that we need it at all, right? And there's this process that that Brunson teaches, that Russell teaches, that it's kind of finding the pulse of the market, and kind of feeling out what you need. And there's an ask campaign that goes into it, and there's a Dream 100 phase where you go out and you see what competitors are doing or complementary businesses are doing and why they're doing it and how that identifies that there's something valuable that you can contribute to that same niche. And who's going to be promoting it with you? Who's your ideal affiliates or JV partners or things like that. And there's this initial research process to make sure that what you're going to produce is good and desirable. So many times we help people, like you mentioned, we have an inner circle or a 2 Comma Club X program where we coach people. So often people come to the table in love with their product or idea. And they don't care whether or not anybody else likes it. You know what I mean? They're like, I invented this thing or I wrote this book. And if I actually look at the book and I say, hey, this book sucks, like straight up, this is a horrible book, no one will ever want it. It breaks their heart and they can't accept it. And they're tied to this product that they want to market. So the first and most important step potentially of a marketing campaign is to not have any emotional attachment to what you're trying to sell. be free to let the market tell you what it wants and then deliver it. You know, on a smaller application, Russell uses the example of his potato gun in his ask campaigns, and he didn't know a lot about potato guns, but he went out there and saw that there was so many 16,000 people every month searching how to build a potato gun. Boom, there's a market. He found where the forums are, people talking about it, just stuff like that. So he realized that there is a market here. Okay, great. And then he went out and he asked these people. He's like, what is it? What is it that what are your most burning questions about potato guns? What is it that you don't know? What do you want to know? And they gave him all the things. They're like, I want to know how long the barrel should be. I want to know if what kind of fuel should be used. I want to know the combustion chamber, what dimensions it should be, what kind of a starter should I use? And they gave him all of their questions, which in essence became the outline for his product. He's like, oh, okay. I know what you want. Let me build it and then come back to you with it. What do you want? This is what I want. Okay, great. I'm going to build it. Here it is. Do you want to buy it? Of course I want to buy it. It's answering all of my exact questions. So making sure that you're aligned properly with your niche and your market is step one of a marketing campaign. Okay, once you've got that, and we did a ton of research with the funnel hacking secrets campaign.
What does that look like? Like, what are you doing right now? So, if I was to hear that, I'd say, but you already had a webinar, and I promoted it many years ago, and it's flooded the market. So why are you bringing it back up? Like, what's the why behind it?
So we asked ourselves, how do we get, we feel like we have a very strong penetration of ClickFunnels, and that webinar into the existing internet marketing world, right? The existing, and that's a very specific niche. Like, I want to sell things online and be an entrepreneur, and it exists, and it's specific, and it's a niche we're in, and we're strong in it, and everybody in it knows about us. Whether they love us or hate us, they know that we're there, right? So now the question was, well, what's the next step up? How can we break out of just that single niche? What's the step bigger in the market where we can reach to more people, right? We've kind of dominated this niche. What's the next niche we can get into? And it wasn't a lateral move. It was instead kind of an upstream move, right? Who else is out there? Well, it's small and medium businesses. Our software appeals really well to small and medium businesses that have an existing business, right? They're doing something. They may be online, they may not be online. There's anyone from the chiropractor who would love to generate more leads, but he doesn't know how, other than putting his listing in Google Places or the yellow pages or whatever he's doing. And how a sales funnel could benefit him, how a real estate agent could use a sales funnel to generate more leads, for her, how, whatever it is. So then we said, okay, the webinars worked in the past. Shaqir knows, he promoted them. He's, and everyone, so let's rebuild this webinar with a different audience in mind, and go through the process and the research. And this is where Russell really shines. He goes through and he funnel hacks is what he calls it. He looks through what everyone else is doing and how they're doing it and what their messaging is. And so he did all this massive research and came up with the 3 secrets. And, and you see them on the page, the 3 secrets, how to dominate your niche, how to basically, I'm going to pull it up real quick and make sure I phrase them just right, because they're really good. So the 3 secrets on funnel hacking secrets, if you scroll down, secret 1 is funnel hacking, which means how to ethically steal over $1 million worth of funnel hacks from your competitor for under $100. Secret 2, funnel cloning, how to then clone their proven funnel inside of ClickFunnels in less than 10 minutes. And secret 3, the #1 traffic hack, how to get the exact same customers who are going to your competitor's website and get them coming to your funnel instead, right? So they became 3 secrets that were very mass appeal, and find out what thousands of entrepreneurs who are just like you are doing to sell more of their products or services online using sales funnels. And so now we're not just talking to people who already know what sales funnels are. We're talking to people who might not know what sales funnels are, and saying, look at this opportunity, this new vehicle called sales funnels, that you don't necessarily know what I mean when I say sales funnels, but come learn about it. And once you get a better understanding of what sales funnels are, and you've come to that epiphany with me, I'm going to then show you how the one vehicle that makes sense for you is ClickFunnels, right? So yeah, okay, I've convinced you now that you need a sales funnel. Now I need to help you understand that the only way to build that sales funnel properly is using ClickFunnels. And once you come to those two conclusions, then you buy. So I mean that was the messaging behind the marketing campaign, right? And then the mechanics of what we do after that point. Often we'll run it, test through our own email audiences. We've got warmer email audiences and colder email audiences, depending on where they came through, how long they've been around, what kind of products they purchased from us. And we'll test it to those audiences and see what kind of response we get. If we feel like it's good, it's above average in its registration rate, attendance rate on this webinar, sales and stuff like that, then we roll into the advertising phase. You know what's interesting, Shaqir? We've been at this for how many years? Like 12 years we've been marketing online. Russell's been marketing online for 18 years, right? And we still don't hit it out of the park every time. And I think that's one of the secrets that I think entrepreneurs who are listening to your podcast need to know, is that we don't get it right every time. I mean, we just don't. So the first version of the webinar wasn't a home run. Change the headline, try again. Change the headline, try again. Change the content of the webinar, try again. Boom, that one worked. Let's run with that one, right?
How long does it take from start to end to launch a campaign like that?
So, I mean, there's production pieces like this one. You'll notice if you watch the webinar, it's not simply a slide presentation. There's actually a lot of production that went into it. So we did some video production for a couple months to get this one ready. You know, you've got we had video crew filming Russell, so you have this live action video spliced in with slides, and so it's really a high production piece. So that was a couple months there. I'd say probably 3 to 4 weeks of initial research before we even start filming, right? Where we're really trying to funnel hack and discover and write. It's interesting. Russell will just watching him, because he's our chief copywriter. Basically, he's the champion copywriter on the team, and no one does it better than him. So if when the copy is being written, it's Russell who's going to come up with the bulk of the concepts. We have other copywriters who help flesh it out, but he's building out the hooks and the stories and everything. He'll sit and chew on a headline for weeks, and even a brand name like his books, Traffic Secrets or his, whatever the new offer is, or the new front end thing he's got going. It can be weeks sometimes. He'll just be like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. And just stew over it and sleep on it. And then boom, one day it comes to him. That's it. That is the brand we're running with on this front end offer. It's going to be called, Traffic Secrets. That's going to be the book. It's going to be the best, whatever. So there's that. There's incubation. Well, let's call it like copywriting incubation time that happens during the research phase. And then there's the production phase. And then once everything's ready to go and we're ready to launch it to our internal list, we'll do that for about a week. Measure stats, adjust, do it a second week if we need to, and really kind of get it. So we're like, okay, we're proud of this offer. We're ready to take it to the market. And then the ads begin. Depending on the ad platform, and we're spending 90% of our money between Google ads platform and the Facebook ads platform, and that includes YouTube and display ads and all the Google suite as well as the Facebook suite. But 90% of our money is split pretty evenly between those two. But they take time to ramp up, so you start with a low budget and let the algorithms learn, and then you ramp up your money, and maybe you're a month in before you're really running full steam on the budget you want.
How much on average do you guys spend on a day on traffic?
Let's back into that. So we spend $1 million a month in traffic. So what is that a day?
30 grand a day.
30 or so, yeah.
What's a good ROI that you go for?
So on a webinar, on a $1,000 webinar, we try to make a sale under the $200 mark.
So 5x.
Yeah, on those, because there's a lot of fulfillment, right? I'm giving you 6 months of ClickFunnels. I'm supporting you for 6 months and hosting everything and all that. So there's a lot of expense in selling that to you. On a book, like one of these, .com Secrets, Traffic Secrets, we go for more of a 2 return on ad spend.
And what's the average cart value of a book like that?
So we sell the books for free plus $9 shipping. So it should be $9, but that's the beauty of a sales funnel, right? We $9 for the shipping, or $7.95 depending on the book or the offer. So there's that seven, and then there's what we call an order form bump, which we like to put on a lot of our order forms, which is a simple checkbox that offers something really relevant and easy enough to explain in 2 sentences, and that you'll probably take advantage of for $37 or $27. So something like, I'm going to sell you all my training on how to do the perfect webinar. And then a little tiny box with a checkbox that says, hey, for $27, I'll actually give you all my slides too. So they're already made for you. You just got to swap out the words. Who doesn't check that box? I mean, we got 40% of the people who are buying a $5 thing up front, check that box and bump the order value from $5 up to, $35 or whatever. So we get about 30% of the people on average checking those order form bumps. So that brings our average cart value from what was, let's stick with $9 free plus shipping offer, to now, if a third of them are taking a $30 offer, so that's 9 goes up to 19, right? So now we have a $19 average cart value. And then we offer an upsell or two, again, keeping it relevant. But one thing to remember on the upsells is you don't want the upsell to solve the same problem that the initial sale already solved. It can't scratch the same itch, or else you won't get people taking you on your order form, on your upsell, which is interesting because so I'm going to sell you a book, and the book's, how to get traffic, traffic secrets. And then the bump is, maybe the audio version of that book. Okay, great. So in my mind as the buyer, okay, I've got a book. It's going to teach me how to get traffic. I now have the audio form of it. So I'm going to consume it even faster because I've got both the physical and the audio. Great. And then the upsell can't be, hey, I'm going to sell you a course on how to get more traffic. That won't sell. Even though, you know what I mean? It won't sell right there because I've already scratched that itch. Like, I had an itch. I need more traffic. I bought something that gives me more traffic. The upsell can't be like, oh, here's a course that's going to go deeper into traffic. People make that mistake all the time. They think it's relevant, but it's already scratched the same itch. Like, I wouldn't buy it. I'm like, no, I'm just going to read your book. Like, I'm sure I'll get most of it out of there. I'm fine. You know what I mean? So the upsell has to be something that's complementary, but not scratching the same itch. So it's like, sure, you can get a bunch of traffic, but gosh, if your page doesn't convert, your page doesn't convert. It doesn't matter how much traffic you throw at it. So here's something that's going to teach you how to improve the conversion of your page. Okay, I'll take that, right?
And what would be an ideal upsell on there?
I mean, it could be a course. A course would be great. You usually increase in cost. So the initial book was 9, and then the bump was 37, and then that might be a $67 offer for something that's going to help you understand how to make sure your page converts when the traffic comes.
Let's just pick a book, right? Like, what's the best-selling book out there now? Traffic Secrets?
Dot-com Secrets sells the best.
Okay, Dot-com Secrets. What's the average cart value of
So
that?
yeah, so we end up at an average cart value around the $35 mark.
35. And how much would you spend to get that $35 customer?
$20. So we try to get around a return on ad spend around 2. So $17, $20 gives us a $35, $40 cart value.
And how many of those books would you sell in a day?
Depends on how much we want to spend. Good question. I'm gonna run some calculations here. I know our budget is monthly that. I'm gonna divide that by $100 a day, 100 books or so a day.
So 100 books a day.
Mhm.
100 books a day. And then obviously you're like, the goal of ClickFunnels is to get people buying the ClickFunnels membership, right? So that's like, so for the listeners that are kind of new to it, the whole goal is to sell the ClickFunnels recurring membership platform. Yes. How many of those 100 book buyers go to become actual buyers of the software?
It's about 10% or so. So we have to sell 100 books to get 10 new ClickFunnels users.
And is that a 10 new buyers at a monthly package, or is that like a 1K or 2K upfront?
No, monthly. Yeah, they sign up for a monthly ClickFunnels subscription, $100 or $300 a month, depending on what kind of functionality they want.
And then what's the yearly package? Is it 1K still?
Yes, so so there's an annual and you get 2 months free. So you're paying in essence 10 months. So for the $100, it's $1,000.
Nice. And then after that membership, you guys have another one, right? Platinum something?
We do, yes. So there's the basic membership at $97 a month or $1,000 a year. There's the platinum level, which is $297 or $3,000 a year, or and then there's the then right above that, it's had a couple different names. It's called 2 Club X coaching program. So not only do you get the software and its full functionality, but you also get best in market training and coaching and live coaches and just a really intensive plan, and that's 2,500 a month.
Okay. And yearly, how much is that?
25,000 a year.
Okay. Do you guys have, how many members do you have in that?
500 or so right now.
The 20. Okay. I think that's what they offer at the live event, right? And the
Yeah.
live
Mhm.
Nice. Well, when you go through, or let's kind of walk through that launch plan. So, you do your research. Let's just say you pick a book to launch.
Yeah.
What are the metrics that you're looking for where you're going to say, okay, we need to scale this up. We just got really lucky, or we need to kill this because we're losing money.
Okay, good. So on the sales funnel itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so opt-in, like email collection, 25-30%. If we're not there, then we're going to keep trying to improve it until we're there. Buyers, if they're pulling out their credit card and buying, 5% of the people coming to the page we want to buy. Of those buyers, we want about 30% of them taking that order form bump. We want about 15 to 20% of the buyers taking the upsell.
Oh, wow. So I need to work on my own ones because it's not that high.
20% would be ambitious. Let's say 10 to 15%, 10 to 15%. Yeah.
And of those, you'd say about 10% of those go and buy from the high ticket, right? The 1-2K program.
No, so of all the book buyers, so if we bring in 100 book buyers, about 10 of them show up in ClickFunnels subscriptions, anywhere from the lower to the higher end.
John, what would you say makes an effective CMO?
The ability to, there's a variety of things, but the ability to continue to focus on the strategy and not get caught up in the management. Okay, so there's a lot of administration things that you can get caught up in, like this person's disgruntled, this person wants a raise, this person doesn't like managing that person. We need a new, all of that, and that's great to keep the ship running and everything. But you need to delegate as much as that as you can to an assistant or or some kind of management level. You need to be able to focus on the strategy, because if you don't, no one is. You're at the top. And if you're not focusing on the big picture strategy of how we're going to grow this company, whether at a micro level, looking at a specific front end offers, how we're going to grow those so the whole company grows, or at a macro level, like where's the leaks in this bucket, where what are the holes we need to plug up, to where are customers leaving us, why are they leaving us, where are we acquiring customers, how do we get more, from which channel people are coming in, are giving us the best kinds of customers. What's the messaging out there? Who is that attracting? Like the strategy level, like that of always being able to zoom out and look at the big picture. If the CMO is not able to do that, then the company is being led without, or the marketing efforts are being led without strategy. You're kind of just like seeing what's next and doing that instead of like engineering your path.
What's your favorite book/courses that you've gone through to develop this way of thinking?
Man, that's a great question. Play Bigger, I think, is a good book. I'm just looking at my bookshelf here. High Growth Handbook is a good book. That one's more of a reference where you just kind of pick parts and read it. It's not a read from front to back, but I have read parts of that I really like. You know, a really good one was, is it up here? I want to get the name just right. Extreme ownership. Extreme ownership really helped me understand um, just what it takes to take ownership. You know what I mean? I don't think people really understand the extent of it. They think that they're being responsible and taking ownership, but maybe not to the extent that the book and that they talk about in the extreme ownership book. There's bigger ones like Trailblazer was a good one. Read it. So a lot of these are coming from people who've succeeded in your industry, right? So like Mark Benioff, the SaaS industry's champion of the person who's built the biggest SaaS company ever. You know, he's Salesforce, right? Massive. They own half of San Francisco, feels like. So what did he do and how did he do it? And what did he write? Like, that's the book I need to read, you know, to find who it is in your niche that did it and read their book.
You guys have any plans to sell to Salesforce?
No, no, we don't. We've talked about it to them and there's just no match.
What's the end goal of ClickFunnels? Keep growing it as it is, or to sell for a big payday one day?
No, I don't think we'll ever. So like the concept of selling usually implies turning it over to someone else, right? The idea of selling it and giving it to them and walking away. That's never been an intention and is not an intention going forward. Mergers and acquisitions, bringing on strategic partnerships, things like that. We're always open to that. We've been open to that since the beginning. I mean, we've brought on micro partnerships like Jim Edwards, and the funnel scripts offer that he has is mutually beneficial. And so that's a cool partnership, you know? So like, yeah, we're always have our eyes open for mergers, acquisitions, partnerships, things like that, but
Yeah,
never sell it, walk away. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm building something on funnels.com and salesbounce.com. So I'm sure there's going to be
Yeah, give
something
me a call. Yeah, for sure.
there's going to be something. And I thought I'll see the in with you as well, since I've told Russell and Dave and everyone else on ClickFunnels. You see, there's so many different funnel builders, ClickFunnels killers coming along, right? Um, I asked this to everyone, to Russell and to Dave, but I want to ask you, when you see all of this, you know, a new company just came, they got 100,000 members or 100,000 trials or whatever, what goes through your head? And then how do you create your own, how do you kind of build a moat around what you've got?
Yeah.
Or a
That's a
glue?
great question. So the first thing I try to make sure I do is check myself and realize that I'm not arrogant enough to think that someone else couldn't build better software. Like, why couldn't they? Sure, they could, right? And so the first question is always like, well, what have they built? What does it look like, and why is it great? Because I'm certain that they've got features that are better in some realm, right? Maybe they send emails better than us, but they sure don't this and this better than us. So it's important to get into your competitors and to kind of experience what they're offering and see what they're offering and see why they think they're a ClickFunnels killer. And the funny thing is, Shaqir, is the fact that there is even a genre called ClickFunnels killer shows you who the dominant player in the market is, right? They're coming in to be a ClickFunnels killer. Well, I mean, one, I'm not arrogant enough to drink my own Kool-Aid and say nobody could ever beat us. I mean, because you don't want to do that, because everyone has ideas. Everyone has great ideas, right? So what are their ideas and how can we learn from it? How can ClickFunnels improve because others are showing? That's what competition's all about. Others are showing you where you're weak. Great, cool, get it. I get it now. We can improve that too. So that's one thing that goes through my mind. Another thing that goes through my mind is an understanding of what we've built and how hard it is to build the robustness that we have, right? So a lot of times we get into these ClickFunnels killers software and we're like, oh yeah, clever little tricks they've got in here or little features that they've discovered that we might not have that they've built in. But as a whole, software sucks. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have 60 developers pounding on this all full time. You paid somebody overseas, you know, for the last 2 months to build this little thing you have, and you're coming out saying it's a ClickFunnels killer. Should people build their entire businesses on the back of that? I don't know. It's their choice. But there's that too, right? So there's an understanding of there's a a foundation and a solid security in what we've built and how big and how strong our development team is that others don't have. So there's that, but then there's also, again, like don't drink your own Kool-Aid and not look at what they're producing.
You know, if you, thanks for that answer, by the way,
Yeah,
appreciate it. If you look at it and you say, you know, the company is doing, say, 100 million a year, of that, what's a percentage that's going to be allocated to marketing, right? Overall, for buying traffic, what's a percentage that goes to maybe as a bonus? Okay. And you don't have to exactly tell me yours, but let's just say you were advising someone and they're doing, you know, 10 million a year. Okay. Advising me. Okay. Say 10 million a year plus, right? And, you know, the goal is to get to 100 million a year through whatever ways. What's the percentage of traffic spend that's required? And then, you know, having a CMO or having a marketing team, how does the compensation get worked out in that area?
that's a great question. So I'm going to make it real simple and say a third, a third, a third. Okay. So a third of the money going into growing the company, as in marketing and marketing efforts and campaigns and paying for expensive, high produced videos and advertising and all of that, right? A third of it to grow that company, to efforts pushing forward. A third of it to operate the company, salaries, paychecks, insurance benefits, the developers, the software itself, the cost of hosting and all that stuff. So a third of it there. And then that leaves a third of it to bonus out, to give to founders, to partners, to equity people. But if you're not, and that's the way we've kind of run the company. If we're falling below the third mark, we don't like that when it comes to profitability. You know, I mean, sometimes there's eras where we're down in the 20s and 25s. There's eras where we're up in the 30s. So those ranges for businesses are really have worked really well for us in a bootstrap setting. How does it work in a VC setting, in a big corporate setting? I have no clue. Never been there. But those are the, I mean, rough numbers that and I think that makes a lot of sense for people who are starting their businesses. Can you take home a third of it? You know, can you, between all the people who want to take home some of the profit, is that available? Can you dedicate a third of it to growth? And is your operations and everything costing less than a third? If not, maybe you can revisit some of those things and see where costs can be cut.
Yeah. So basically, on 100 million, you'd advise 25 mil to 30 mil is a good profit amongst partners, shareholders, investors, right?
Yeah.
Are you an owner in ClickFunnels?
Yeah, I am. There's two founders, Russell and Todd, and they have large shares of the equity. And then there's smaller shares of equity owned by Dave Woodward and me and Brent Copeters, Ryan Montgomery, and Daniel Usher.
And okay, that's very valuable. Did you get that from the beginning, or did you have to earn your way in?
Me
Hey, just
and
my cousin, hook him up.
by marriage, right? Cousin by marriage, right? Brent and Dave and I and Dan, all of us minor partner shareholders, I would say, earned our way in. We proved ourselves before we were given any equity. I mean, in my case, I was around with Russell for 6 years before ClickFunnels came about. So near, pretty much when ClickFunnels was founded, I was given equity in it, as was Brent, because we had proven ourselves as valuable players that they wanted on as partnership level. So
Yeah, how much of the entire revenue would be driven by affiliates?
well, that's a great question. So more at the beginning and less as you mature. So at the beginning in some businesses, especially early on in Russell's business before ClickFunnels was around, most of his traffic and revenue came from affiliates, 70% or so, 30% from his own list. And in the early days, we didn't advertise at all. So those were the two sources of income. was maybe solo ads. We buy email, blasts from different vendors and stuff like that. But between some solo ad blasts and our existing list and promotion efforts and affiliates, it'd probably be 70% coming in from affiliates. As your company matures and your brand gets bigger, and it's so much so that people just Google your brand's name, then the affiliates become a lot smaller part. So maybe they're closer to a third, 25 to 30% of new people coming into ClickFunnels as
How
from
much
affiliates.
I was recently saw you guys advertise on podcasts, right? Which like EO, really great stuff. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I know Russell paid for this one.
Yeah.
What would you say is your overall budget on something like that? And if you're looking to get a 5x ROI on Facebook and YouTube, Google, whatever, what are you looking for when it comes to podcasts? Like, what's the metric? What's the success metric that you guys are happy with?
That's a great question. So we are, and there's probably a time where we should probably mature out of this and become more brand marketers, but because we grew up bootstrapped, every dollar comes out of our pocket. And so we want to know where it goes and what it generated, right? So that direct attribution marketing was very important to us. And so getting into podcast advertising was weird because it's not very directly attributable. People can just hear of your brand and think about you. And then, kind of like you do a laundry detergent, they have no idea how well their TV campaign went. All they can see is a general lift in their sales because they ran an ad, right? Or not, and it didn't work. So podcast advertising gets a little bit more into that realm of less than trackable. You can have a custom URL that the podcast host speaks, like go to this custom URL.com, and in so doing hope you track some of those sales. But again, a lot of it doesn't come through that channel. It's just more of a brand play. And so as we were doing this, we were thinking, how are we going to measure this? And keeping in mind, like, what are we trying to get out of podcast advertising? And what we've come to the conclusion, and we did advertise on, Entrepreneurs on Fire and other podcasts and stuff like that. The most successful podcast advertising and measurable podcast advertising we've done is back to our podcast. They're already listening to a podcast. Let's get them on our podcast. We can convert them to a sale later, but let's take that audience, make it ours, and then we'll convert it off of our own. So we've taken to only running podcast ads on platforms that allow it. So like, for example, Castbox is a place where you can, inside of that app, it's a podcast playing app. Lots of people listen to podcasts on Apple, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people listen to them on Spotify or Castbox or Overcast or iHeartRadio, or there's a ton of different places podcasts are listened to. More than half of people listening to podcasts, if I'm not mistaken, is not on Apple. And Apple has no space for an ad or a banner ad or anything. If you want to do an ad there, I have to say, hey, Shaqir, I want to run an ad on your podcast. Can I buy a placement, right? But you don't have to go that way. So we've had tons of success buying banner ads inside of podcast playing platforms. And basically the banner ad, and why do I love that? Why do I love the banner ad versus the audio ad? Because the banner ad's clickable. I'm on my phone, I'm looking at my podcast episode, this banner pops up, I can touch it, and what it says is subscribe to my podcast, with a reason why they should. Click on it, and now they're subscribed to my podcast, and it was directly attributable action, and us as direct marketers love that.
Yeah,
and
that's
we've grown.
on Castbox, right? How to advertise to those platforms.
Yeah, that was our most recent buy, was Castbox, and iHeartRadio was another one.
Now that, let's just say you guys are number one, you guys are in the funnel building space, right? Who do you look up to and say, wow, those guys are killing it? Because when you look at something like Wix, right, I think they sign up one person every few seconds or something, like really ridiculous.
Oh yeah, Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, yeah.
Like, who do you look at and say, wow, these guys are really killing it? There's so much growth for us to get there.
Absolutely. So the way Russell explains it, he says there's 3 core markets, and then there's niches, and then there's the sub niches, right? So you have to look at that and then follow the train backwards. For us, yeah, we're looking at things like, the 3 core markets are health, wealth, or relationships. Everything falls into one of those 3 markets. Even if you don't think it does, it actually does. So I mean, like selling roses, for example. Well, where does that fit? It's not health. It's not wealth. It's relationships. You're buying roses because you want to express love for somebody, right? So it fits in the relationship category. So everything fits in one of those three categories. Well, it's a red ocean in those categories. You can't just hop into the health niche and think you're going to compete against the big dogs, right? So you have to find a niche in there. So you find a niche like, let's go on the health vein. You find a niche inside of the health. Well, keto, right? Okay, so inside of health, what if I teach people how to do the keto diet thing? Well, great, but guess what? It's already super dominated. It's still a bloody ocean. Well, how can I niche inside of that niche? Well, my sub niche inside of the keto diet is how you can still eat chocolate chip cookies on a keto diet and lose weight. Boom, because I found some kind of keto whatever, right? So now I have a sub niche inside of you can still eat your junk food or whatever, and so I found my sub niche. Great, I can grow there. There's room. It's a blue ocean. There's space for me, and I'm complementary to other keto diet people. I've got a very specific thing called keto chocolate chips, and I can sell them to you who have a whole audience of people who have keto recipes. Well, great. Also get these keto chocolate chips. Like we're complementary because I've been able to sub niche, right? So ClickFunnels being a sub niche inside of business, online business, right? Online. So wealth is the big one. Online business is the niche. Inside of online business is sales funnels. That's where we are. So we look upstream to the online business. Who runs online businesses? MailChimp. What are they doing? How are they growing? What are their marketing efforts look like? How are they developing their software? Well, who else is in there? Wix, Squarespace, Salesforce, things like that, right? So that's where we look, is upstream to the one step higher than us.
Wow, that was valuable.
Yeah.
That was. I want to respect your time because I know you're a very busy man, and I've waited a long time to do this one. We should definitely revisit this, John. I don't really have any more last questions. I do have a page of notes which I'm going to go revisit and
Awesome.
study and re-listen to this one. Man, thank you so much. How can people find you and connect with you?
I'm all over the ClickFunnels stuff. If you follow ClickFunnels on Instagram, on Facebook, you're gonna see me here and there. My personal Instagram is probably where I'm most active. And just John O Parks is the handle, at John O Parks. If you just search John Parks, you'll probably find me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But I spend most of my time in the ClickFunnels brand. So
yeah, I know, I appreciate it, and on a side note, I appreciate everything that you do for the whole team and even for the marketing campaigns, because it's one of this is an education for me and for many people, I'm sure, and two, it obviously helps me, helps my business, helps my customers. So leaving ClickFunnels aside, I just want to say a huge thank you to you personally, because I know you've been responsible for so much behind the scenes. So thank you so much, John.
hey, thanks, Shaqir. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, go to, I'm going to put the links below this video. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening to this on the show on iTunes, make sure you leave us a review, and I will be speaking to you guys soon.